I'm Gentleman Josh Hill.
I'm Aaron Jeffrey.
I'm Johnson Jazz Busiest.
I'm Mike Malott.
I'm Ruffian Style.
Tune into the
Don't Tap
podcast.
Don't tap
podcast.
John Jones.
Follow me on Twitter.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
To me, the Lions are the number one rankings out there. Those guys are the ones who really do their homework.
Man, that's why I'm saying the rankings are bullshit.
From Canada.
Got a really high fight IQ.
But this fight, I'm telling you, it's a flip of a coin.
Levels to the shit.
So many high-level guys.
So, like, the line is crazy.
Oh, there we go. Oh, no, we're good. See, he's a pro.
All right, Don't Tap Podcast. We are back, and it's three of us. The trio is here. We're digging into the next card coming up. Well, we have Salt Lake City, but we have Billy Briz. Billy, what's going on, man? You're on a move right now? What's going on?
Yeah, man, we're on a move, man. Out of South Jersey we go, and to Beckley, West Virginia, man. That's going to be the home and the destination here for the next couple of months up until around Christmas time. So time to put the head down, get to work. As long as it's got FanDuel, DraftKings, and BetMGM, we'll make anything work anywhere around the world.
Fair enough. And Nick, welcome back. Welcome back. Who stands harder, Onyx or Vince Carter? Nick Eagle Eyes breakdowns, motherfucker. Let's go. We need them back in the mix. We've been holding the fort down pretty solidly. My early leads and locks have been fucking loaded, but I need some of your breakdowns. I need some of your edges, and I need you to sort of keep me straight on some plays, man. So, how you been? How was the trip? Talk to us.
Yeah, it was good, man. It's good. I headed out to the East Coast of Canada, man. Stayed out there for about a week. Down there with my mom and some family and shit, my brother's girl, and it was good. And then, ironically enough, man, we left at a good time because they're getting flooded now, man. People are going missing. The weather started getting bad, man, and we're like, we're gonna drive home. My girl and I, Katie, we're supposed to stay at a hotel as our last day. And we're like, fuck it, it's 15 hours. Let's just fucking put the pedal. We drove home, left at noon, go home like 4 in the morning. But now, man, yeah, in Halifax and like Lunenburg, where we were, they're getting straight flooding.
Man. I wasn't even aware. I'm so out of the loop with things. I try to just stay off the news cycle because it's depressing for the most part. But
yeah,
I do have family down in Cape Breton, so maybe I should possibly.
I want to reach out, man. I don't think it's this far there, man. It's more like Lunenburg, like Peggy's Cove area, but anywhere Oceanside there, man, they're getting hit really bad. So
UFC might be hitting down there sometime soon. A horrible transition. But we have. I know John Anik was talking about Halifax as maybe being a target, and even maybe having Malott, who went down to university down there, that may be him as a headliner for fight night. And if he's talking about it, or at least putting it out there in the air, then obviously, it has a little bit of legs anyways. But let's, we could look back, but it's just another one and another one and another one.
No, not for me, man. Last week was by far one of my down cards of the year. Yeah, we were moving, but that's no excuse of going 1-4. I was here talking about Molly Meatballs, and Molly Meatballs did not look good. Shit, if it wasn't for Chris Duncan, man, we'd probably be under the bridge asking for milk money today.
Like, when you're in that position, even I know, and I'm not a jiu-jitsu practitioner, as I can't even say it, like when you have someone grabbing at your arm and you're in top position, you're grabbing your own wrist to hold that position and lock that arm up, and then you're leading your shoulder down deep into them to get that pressure off the arm. You're not rolling out and giving her the arm bar.
Yeah, but I felt like I set myself up for that. You don't parlay women's MMA. You don't parlay heavyweight MMA. And that was the fucking parlay last week, was the co-main, the main event. But shouts to my man, Cal. Cal put us on that Paul Craig Juju plus 188. That was some good money. If it wasn't for your picks last week, man, I definitely would have salvaged a little bit of money. I think we didn't fully talk about it, but we talked about leaning on the side of Parkin. Ended up taking that one by decision plus 700. There were some good tickets last week, but it was just the parlays, man. The parlays are what get people straight bets are what keeps the account okay, but the parlays are what people really need to go on vacations, go on trips. Everybody wants that big old 7-leg parlay that goes on Aroani show.
And I had that plus.
How did you score the Davey Grant fight? I gotta know, because Callum and I have gone back and forth on this one.
I rewatched it.
So live on the stream, I said Davey Grant's gonna get his hand raised, but the way Marcos finished out the third round, man, you can't deny it. The image of each fighter, I forget what they call it. I'm drawing the blank on the word, but Davey Grant looked like he'd been in a war. Marcos looked like he was in a sparring session. that's who should. I think the right deserved winner won.
Damn.
I think that partially played a role. I think I know it was volume versus damage, and then the damage perception was one way or another. And really, it was such a close fight. I think if you're holding a ticket on either side, you could make an argument either way. But I just think what I was watching, that second and third round, you see Marcos just landing a higher percentage of what he's actually throwing versus Davy Grant missing a lot, man, not landing, and he's missing off the shoulders. And someone who I really respect in at the highest level of the space is Kenny Florian. Kenny Florian saw exactly the same thing. Davy Grant wasn't landing all those shots. He was trying to knock on the door to actually land a big shot, and he was missing quite a bit. But I still, I wouldn't have felt like it was a robbery if it went the other way. I think it was either or. I know that first round is definitely not Marcos. But that wasn't a heavy one for me. We hit the decision plus 200. Yay, Don't Tap podcast. But I get it if you're on the other side and you're pissed off.
And I'm not even mad. And here's the thing, and then we'll move on from this. What I'm mad about is the fact that it came down to the first round that they scored for Marcos.
Yeah, that's bad.
It came down to the first and the third. And the most clear round of that fight was the first round to Davy Grant, in my opinion, because Marcos landed 0 headshots that whole round. He didn't even look like he was in that fight in the first round. And they somehow scored that to him. But then, yeah. So either way, it's just I'm salty because of the judges' scorecards. I had no.
But it's a good spread play. It's a good spread play in retrospect, right?
Giver.
Okay, so now that we've looked back and sort of, reminisced and reconnected and reconvened and ready to go, let's take a look at UFC Salt Lake City. Man, it's going to be – there's some pretty good spots on here, actually. Even potentially some parlays out there as well, too. I already put one out there as well. We'll talk about that. As Billy's saying, do not parlay up women's MMA. I'm parlaying up women's MMA. Miranda Mavericks are riding this week. I'm sorry. I'm telling you straight up. But you know what? I'll let you guys get into it first. Let's let Nick, you're back. It's been a little while. Come in with your first spot. Come in with your best spot. Let's go. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, it's not my best spot on the card, but let's start this off with the first fight of the night, man. I'm really fucking high on Matthew Selmelsberger in the spot, man. I think Euros Medic, man, I don't trust anybody from Alaska FC. He came in. I'm just being honest, man. Like, it's everybody talks about it, man. It's true. Like, it's literally
there's numbers behind it, man.
Out of the bar, man. Like, there's legit facts. Like, if you watch an Alaska FC card, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. Some greasy shit. But yeah, man, I think he just has Euros mashed everywhere in the spot. Like, Euros comes in, he lands like 8 strikes per minute, but he just comes in guns blazing. I don't find him to be that technical. Yeah, I just think that Euros Magic has outmatched it completely in this fight, man. I think that Matthew Selmelsberger is going to be able to land takedowns in the spot, man. Although he's not a big takedown artist, Euros Magic has 0 takedown defense. I think he's the more clean, crisp striker. And I think all he has to do is extend this fight, man, because if Euros Medic can't get you out of there, he finds himself in a world of hurt. His only losses to Jalen Turner, but other than his win over Omar Morales, he's really faced abysmal competition. So I think on a card that has a lot of, chalky favorites, I think Selmelsberger is a favorite that's playable at a decent line.
What do you feel about maybe even looking at, like, for some people that might be a little bit hesitant, but maybe are interested in what you're talking about, maybe looking at like a live bet? Selmelsberger, look after that first round, see if Medic just sort of press forward with a little bit of pressure.
I think you take it a step further, man. I mean, Medic has only been out of 9 total fights, he's never experienced a third round. So that just screams Selmelsberger 3D, like round 3 decision.
Yeah. No, it's true. But even then, because with Medic, man, the way he throws wild, like, I can see Selmelsberger getting out of there. Remember, in his last fight against Jake Matthews, or I don't think it was the last fight. But
no, that fight was crazy.
Yeah, man. He knocked Jake Matthews down like 6 times. So I don't think Medic has that durability, man. Like, as I said, like, he's never really shown, not that he's been in position to not show it, but he got finished by Jalen Turner fairly quickly.
That's Jalen Turner, dude. Jalen Turner's jacked.
I'm just saying, if we had, that's the only comparable thing we have. I think Selmelsberger probably knocks him out.
I think there's a red flag, though, for Selmelsberger's lack of finishing ability. There's been often times where he'll stun a fighter but not finish the job. I mean, he's been to decision in his last 4 fights, and it does not feel like it at all. Like, it feels like he's smoking these people, but he's just he's just winning by unanimous decision. I think a lot of chalk is going to come in on that under 2.5. And the way these bookies have been playing these fights a little bit, You think it goes one way, but it's going to go the other. Everybody's betting the under 2.5. Well, this is going to be the fight that goes over. Like, it's just weird things like that. So I kind of want to see where the line movement comes in. But I like the Smellsberger pick. But, man, it feels like a unanimous decision spot. I mean, Medic moving up a weight class, you might see a more relaxed version of him. But, yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Smellsberger for the parlays this week.
And what's Smellsberger's money line right now?
Minus 140.
Minus 140. I mean, I think that's just better. I'm gonna look at both of you and look at everything that you've talked about, and I would say the money line is probably just the best way to look at it.
I think it's the safest way to approach.
I don't know if I parlay Smellsberger, but the only advantage of doing that is if you do like a prelim parlay, like an early parlay, or even a 2-piece early, then you have room to recoup if it doesn't land. Thoughts? Anyone? Billy?
I agree.
Just laying chalk on Smellsberger, though, historically just doesn't seem profitable.
So then maybe you do look at that live. I mean, either way, Nick is going to have his play on it, but I think that we're definitely looking at Smellsberger as the line, and then there's definitely multiple different ways to look at it. I do like that 3rd round decision, but I mean, maybe you look at fight starts round 3, what that line will be like. Does that line have value? Something along those lines, depending if you don't have a horse in the race in this one. So, Billy, I will let you take it away on your lead play.
My best play and first play of the card. Man, I've been waiting all fucking summer for this fight, and I got a lot of insight on this fight. It might not be for the light heavyweight title, but damn, man, that makes it even better for me. I'm going with El Pator. Alex Pereira is about to smash Jan Blachowicz in this spot. This is the best spot on the card. Even though the BMF is on this card, the baddest motherfucker on this card is Alex Pereira, and there's no questions asked about that. He lands 5.23 strikes per minute compared to Jan Blachowicz 3.41. And let's really look at Jan Blachowicz's run real quick. I mean, yeah, he won the lightweight title in 2020 over Dominic Reyes, but look at Dominic Reyes, man. He's on a 4-fight losing streak. He's been finishing all of his last 3 fights. Following that, he fought fucking skinny-ass Israel Adesanya at light heavyweight, and the fight was damn near even up until they said, hey, Jan, you're a black belt in wrestling. Wrestle him. And then he secures the rounds. All right. Good job. So then he goes out there in his next fight, gets submitted by 42-year-old Glover Teixeira, and then he gets lucky as hell with the Ankalaev fight going to a draw, and then a win over Ratchik with the leg injury. Why is he the favorite? Why are people betting Jan Blachowicz? I'm telling you, the UFC script is Alex Pereira is going to knock this man the fuck out, shut off his lights, and then you're going to see Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira, number 3, 2 belts on the line, because Alex Pereira is going to smoke Jan Blachowicz. It's my most confident spot of the card. I'm going to be taking a little bit of Alex Pereira no decision action, so that's minus 120. So basically, if the fight goes to the judges' scorecards, you get your money back. And Alex Pereira, rounds 1, round 2 knockout. I think it's going to be a short, easy night. He's been in Salt Lake City for a couple of months now. I mean, I got the insight. The lawyer, Alex Pereira's lawyer is the homie. Had lunch with him a couple of weeks ago. He said this is the one. So he owed me one for the under 2.5 in the Randy Brown fight. Then I got the Sean Strickland W. So now this is the one that's supposed to put me over here. I think Alex Pereira is going to knock this man out. I can't say it enough. Alex Pereira is the best bet of the card. That's the baddest motherfucker on this card.
And well, I'm seeing what you're saying 100%, because initially when I started to look at this fight, I was actually on the Jan Blachowicz side. I was on potentially a mix-up of some wrestling, a mix-up of some striking, and him just being the more well-rounded guy. And a lot of people, like at minus 114, I was looking at Jan. I was looking at that as the line I wanted to touch and put it out there. Didn't even get it out there in time, and it already started to move because everybody is on this wrestling narrative. And so I'm going to lay out some numbers to you. Jan Blachowicz has not landed a takedown in 3 fights. Before that, he landed a couple takedowns in a couple fights, and then prior to that, he hadn't landed a takedown 5 fights in a row. If you look at all of his stats, there is multiple times where he's not even landing takedowns. He likes to stand up. The only thing that's a little bit of a caveat to that, when he fought Adesanya, he gets 3 takedowns. When he fought Cannonier, he gets 4 takedowns. So against people who are high-level strikers with threat, he has gone that route. So it does sort of throw a little bit of a monkey wrench into that whole no takedown shot. So it's really hard to see where this goes. I just think that the most value on this line, and it's not even out yet, but I just think it's going to be there because some love's coming in on Jan. It's going to be that spread, man, at +3.5. Because I think if it goes to the judges' scorecards, you may see a couple takedowns if Jan does take that approach. But does he hold Alex down there? I don't think so. I think he's getting better with every camp. So if he's standing on the feet for length of time, he has a chance to either land some damage and potentially win a round or get that KO. And I know that it takes some value out of the KO prop, but at the same time, that's one of my top plays of the week. I'm going to lay that one in because I looked at the idea of the takedown from Jan, and it's there. But, like, how good is it? And as we've let Alex Pereira get better and better, I know he was taken down by Michailidis. I get that twice. I understand it. I fully get it. Pereira as well, too. But I just think he's only going to get better and better. Now he's up a weight class, and he's strong as fuck.
2 weeks after
his strength, I think, is going to be the difference.
Heavyweight fight.
What's that?
My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was saying Alex Pereira got taken down by Michailidis after he fought 2 weeks ago in a fucking Glory kickboxing title fight. So, like, I don't knock him down too much for it. I mean, if you look at the wrestling that him and Glover are doing, Glover's his full-time trainer now. Before, they used to switch off camp to camp of who was going to train who's going to train who. Now it's Glover 100% committed to Alex Pereira's wrestling day in and day out. I think he's getting better fight by fight by fight, and it's all going to come together. Do you know how much weight he was cutting to make 185? It was ridiculous. He was he would have to start cutting weight the month ahead of the fight at 230, 225, 235. Now he's cutting down to 205. I think a lot of people are sleeping on how big Alex Pereira really is. He fought at light heavyweight and Glory kickboxing. He was a 2-division champ over there. I think it's going to transfer over here into the UFC nice and calmly. And you're telling me, Cal, Adesanya, Pereira, 3, light heavyweight, 2 belts on the line. That's what sells in the UFC, man. Not Jan Blachowicz' boring ass in a another title fight.
Mr. Narrative strikes again. Mr. Storyline. What's your thoughts on this one, Nick? Any takes on this? Do you have an angle on this? What's your input, bud?
To be honest, whenever I saw this line or whenever I saw this fight get announced, I thought Pereira would be like a -200 favorite. And I was like, at that value, I'm going to take Jan Blachowicz before they drop the lines. Now that the lines have been out, like, I personally don't see value either side. Like, I think that it's a high versatile fight. And, like, Alex Pereira moving up, as Billy said, like, he comes in huge. But that being said, with his experience, like, if Jan could land a takedown, I personally lean the side of Alex. I think it is the way, and I think I'll probably look stupid not putting a bunch of money on it. I think he probably KOs him in under 2 rounds. I just think Jan's old, but it's just, and you watch that Izzy fight, and it's kind of like, what do you could he do the same thing to Pereira? But as I said, man, the same size. So I think this is like a live and learn fight type of thing, right? We'll see what Alex Pereira really looks like, because if he walks right through Jan, he's heading ready for. He's heading. If he walks through
Jan, we're never getting plus money on him again at this weight class.
Well, I'm not saying
my thing is that's why I do like. That's why I do like that spread play.
Where I'm gonna throw like $200 at the +100 and be like, oh, this is gonna hit for sure. Because if Jan walks in, shoots a double A, and Alex Pereira's on his ass for 5 minutes, this fight's at altitude, which is something we should address early.
Oh,
All these motherfuckers are gonna be gassed going into the 3rd round. So if Jan could literally just take him down and lay on top of him, I don't trust his gas tank. To be there.
Jan did talk on, and I mean, talk is talk. He could be throwing out a bunch of bullshit just as a smokescreen. But on the BizBings podcast, he did say he wants to try his hat at the stand-up. My thing is, I don't know if he's going to be able to hold him down, though, man. I think Pereira is so big, he's so strong, and he does have Glover on top of him regularly. So I just think there's a chance that he's on the feet for a length of time. And him at an upper weight class, not having to cut with that power, I just think if he touches him, it's either going to look real bad to the judges, and he's going to either win a round or that KO. And I think we'll just cap it right there. I know Billy's heavy on.
I agree with Cal, man. Let's go back in time about 2 weeks ago. Fucking Glover Teixeira on that UFC Fight Pass Invitational card. He was running through on the ground like that. Just because Glover Teixeira retired in MMA doesn't mean he's not putting in the work every day on the ground. And, man, he looked damn near as best as ever with the gray beard out there on that UFC Fight Pass Invitational on that was only a couple weeks ago, man.
That's it. Don't get me wrong, man. I'm on both of your guys' side. I think Alex wins. It's just I want to see him at like I'm the type of gambler where like I like to be a little bit more confident going in, and it's just for me personally, I see some red flags on both sides, and the line isn't wide enough where I feel like I'm getting enough on each side.
But Nick, do you see the three of us when we go through a card? Usually, there's two people on one side and one on the other in almost everything that we pick. And what that does is it draws out all the shit and it lays things out exactly where it should be and gives people at least a couple looks and some variables. So it's fucking brilliant because sometimes you guys are on the side against me. Like I imagine you both would have been all over me about Paul Craig last week if it was just the two of you. Or I know I think even Billy was sort of leaning that way too when I was talking. But I mean,
I wasn't going to argue.
It's good to have
I could put money on it, but I couldn't argue it. Then I was down money. I was like, you know what? Cal's hot tonight. I'm tailing it.
I'm going to lean into my play of the week. I'm going to go with the man. I'm going to go with Thompson, man. I think it's a little bit silly with everything that we're looking at in this one. And the line's moving in the direction that I like. Thompson opened up at a minus 225 and minus 195 roughly in different books. And now it's currently sitting at minus 175 to minus 160. For me, it's a level of competition. It's the 5-round experience. It's the cardio at altitude in Salt Lake. It's Pereira basically wasting movement. And I know that he's measured things at times, but he's measured that with wrestling. So either wrestling or his crazy capoeira style where he flips and does crazy stuff or tries to land the Superman punch on Thompson that was the only KO he's ever received. Whatever it is he's going to try to do is only, I think, going to exacerbate his cardio. And I think his cardio was an issue in Salt Lake last time. It was definite. There was guys, hands down on their knees. Shout out to I think it's Hajai Picks for him even acknowledging he put out a reel for it. And I was like, yeah, shit, it's at Salt Lake. Got to really dig into that cardio and look at this. So I just think Thompson's going to be able to outpoint him. And if you look at, like, I think people are looking at takedowns potentially, right? Does Pereira land some takedowns? He lands 1 to 2 takedowns a fight. But let's look at who, like, with 1 second, I can't even fucking see. I'm gonna have to pause here because I have so much written down. Although he has been taken, with Thompson, he's been taken out 12 times in his last 3 fights. But that's to Gilbert Burns, Bilal Muhammad, and Kevin Holland. Right? On the feet, this is gonna play out on the feet predominantly most of the way through. But Thompson does tend to give up a round. So if he does give up a round, my play on this card is you come in at either minus 175, minus 160, whatever you get money line on Thompson, and then look at that spread for Pereira because Pereira could win a round and or get the what everybody might look at as a late KO that everybody wants to talk about. I heard people talking about this already, which is crazy to me. But I think Thompson rides here. I think that with 10 of his 14 fights have gone to decision, and he's won 6 of 10 of them. So I even like looking at the potential for decision prop. I just think this is a levels game. And I think this is one of those transition points where you have a guy that's at the highest level and a guy that's just sort of knocking on that door. And I don't think he's quite there. And I think Thompson's just going to expose him, pick him apart for 3 rounds and or even maybe get a late finish, man. Because Pereira fight IQ is an issue. Cardio has been an issue. And this is a perfect situation to just fade the shit out of him and go with a guy that you can trust in a vet. So I'm with Thompson on this one. I already have a parlay out there that we'll talk about at the end, but I do like that sort of hedge with the spread at plus 3.5 for Pereira because he could steal a round with a little bit of wrestling. On top of that, I mean, the KO's there, but I just don't see that happening. What do you guys think?
I like Thompson a lot too, man. I think at this point in his career, the UFC kind of did him dirty for a couple of fights, giving him strong wrestlers. And I think they're probably just going to give him favorable matchups. The public doesn't necessarily agree on this one with you because he opened at minus 230 and it says closing range is around minus 145. So if you're going to hit the Thompson line, I would probably wait and see in what direction it went. But I think those people just searching for value based on some of his recent losses. As you said, cardio is going to be an issue for Pereira. And I think that Thompson's just going to be the much better striker. And in the areas where he can, take advantage of Thompson, as you said, he may land a takedown or two, but like in reality, the people that are taking down Thompson were like high-level grapplers. And that's not how I classify him. His striking's unorthodox, and those are the types of fights where Thompson just capitalizes on. Those counters are going to be there all day because he'll run head towards you. You're in the big cage. Thompson can dance around. I think this is his fight to lose. Like, I think this is like probably one of the most perfect stylistic fights for him.
Yeah, I just I sort of, one thing that I'm starting to learn is when I feel like I'm on the other side of a pick, that's usually when I end up winning. The spots that I'm because we're only doing 3 spots. Don't get me wrong. If you have that angle on like the full fight card and we're going through it, I'm not winning that clip. We're getting to isolate these 3 spots, and I'm sort of finding these spots where I'm on the other side, like a Paul Craig or whatever else, and just seeing these little edges. I could blow up this week, right? It's been pretty solid the last couple of weeks, and that's the name of the game. But just right now, I'm just seeing these early looks and trusting my instincts since the switch. That's what I've been doing, those Sunday early leans, and I just see Thompson just being able to scoot off of those takedowns and really just get the job done in this one, man.
I would have to disagree with you guys here, man. I hate to be devil's advocate, but looking at the line on this fight, I mean, I think the values on Michel Pereira here is just his fighting style and some of the antics. I just don't like betting on people with, I know that they've have the history of doing a backflip inside of a cage at any possible moment. That's not the business I really want to get into betting, but it's not about the takedowns. It's about what style of takedowns, what are the takedowns that you're acceptable to? And if you look at Michel Pereira, when he's fighting these strikers, he's using his wrestling. When he fought Andre Fiallo, he landed 107 strikes, landed a takedown. When he fought Nico Price, another striker, he landed 3 takedowns, 92 significant strikes. When he fought Chaos Williams, another striker, he took him down 2 times, 44 significant strikes. When he fought Zaleem, 88 significant strikes, 1 takedown, 1 sub. So it's just like when he lost to Tristan Conley, he had 2 takedowns, got outstruck in that one. That was the historical fight where he was doing the backflips and the dumb shit. But I think the value here is on Michel Pereira, only because with the karate stance of Stevie Wonderboy Thompson, that leaves the single leg takedown wide open. And if you look at Pereira's takedowns, they're not like the Khabib, the Dagestanian style. I'm going to push you up against the fence. I'm going to try to grind you out, take you down, rip you down to the ground, cross up your legs. It's more of like, hey, you want to throw that leg out there? I'm more than enough happy to grab it. And I think that's what he does here, man. I think he wrestles here. I think this fight's more than greasy. This fight's going to the judges' scorecards. I mean, look at the over-under on this one. The over-under on this one, over 2.5, minus 185, the highest over-under on the whole card this weekend. And you're telling me you want me to lay chalk on Stevie Wonderboy Thompson at a fight that could go to the judges' scorecards and anything can happen? I mean, wouldn't this be the spot where Michel Pereira kind of could get built up, or Stevie Wonderboy keeps on getting the W's? I don't know what the narrative here for the UFC is for this fight, so hence why I didn't go to the betting window with this one. But man, the plus 3.5 on Michel Pereira at minus 190 just seems like a free W. Like I don't see him getting unanimous decision here. I think this is going to be a close contested battle for 15 minutes. I think the takedowns are going to is what makes the difference. But if he does not shoot for a takedown and this is a contested battle for 15 minutes on the feet, he's losing. So that's the reason why I can't go to the betting window, because I'm betting in the ifs. Last week, man, the ifs killed me, man. If Molly McCann wins and doesn't get submitted, I win a lot of money. That's not what happened.
I think
so I'm not betting this anymore.
I think with the Weidman move down to North Carolina, I think adding that, and there's a lot of guys that have followed him and trained down there, it gave Wonderboy a lot more looks. He's pretty much side by side with him for a long time. Although you look at the wrestlers that have taken him down, they're getting him up against the fence. They're chain wrestling him and taking him down and running that more aggressive, higher level takedowns. I don't see Pereira closing the distance on him enough. And I do see him actually potentially getting a takedown in the first. I think even Wonderboy's game plan could be, yeah, man, come take me down for the first round. Give up a round. Let him gas the fuck out and then piece him up for 2 rounds. I mean, I know you obviously don't want to give up a round, but I don't think he's as worried about the takedowns. He's been shown that he can scoop back to the cage, get back to his feet, and circle off and get back to striking as well too. I know the Kevin Holland thing. Kevin let it up. I mean, Kevin really, with his size and everything else, and the well-roundedness of his game, he should have actually won that fight. But yeah, man, I just think Thompson is the side, but I do see the spread because I really think Thompson could give up a round. He's done it in the past to sort of watch and see what's going on, or to get into. He needs to get hit a couple times in order to sort of get into a rhythm. So I see the dog side of it, but I just think he's going to win a decision victory. And I do think that he could give up the first round. So the spread, that's why I like playing it that way and sort of playing both sides of the coin on it. It's a little bit of a hedge spread. It covers quite a bit. So I think that's the best way to do it. And with both you guys on either side, or at least appearing to be on the other side of things, I think I'm on the right path. So 3 good looks. Let's dig into another one. Who's the next spot? I think it's Nick's got the next spot on the card.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hit you guys with a dog, man. I'm high on Chiesa in this spot. I have been since this fight got announced. I wish I was getting a little bit of a better line on it, but Michael Chiesa, man, like he reminds me of Aljamain Sterling in the sense that people just love to talk shit on him, but he wins, man. Like he's not. Keep in mind, he's not coming off like a huge win streak, but like he's just one of these guys, man. He's a grinder. He's a dog. Kevin Holland's always had issues whenever it comes to the wrestling, and this is a tailor-made fight for him. Chiesa isn't the type of guy that's coming in here and just getting demolished in all his fights. Even in the striking realm against Vicente Luque, like he wasn't looking half bad. Like he was popping that jab. Like he didn't look terrible against a decent striker. Obviously, he didn't win that fight, but you know he's just one of these guys, man. And I think with Kevin Holland, I think the whole showboating thing. If you look at it back, his fight against Thompson, like that was some of the worst fight IQ ever. He literally took Thompson down and stood up and was like, "Let's have a striking battle." In a fight he clearly wasn't winning. So I think this is Chiesa all day, man. I think he's going to be able to get him down, get his back, probably submit him. And I just like him in the spot, man. Like I said, Kevin Holland, man, I love the guy, but he's like Nate Diaz and those kind of fun style fighters where you love them, but you can't trust them to win, man.
Yeah, Kevin Holland scares the shit out of me when it comes to betting on him, because whenever you back him, like that's the kind of stuff that comes into play, and you're like, "What the fuck are you doing?" You're holding your hair, or what I have left of it.
They're talking to Dana White, yelling at Daniel Cormier, being like, "Teach me how to wrestle."
I mean, Chiesa's shown fight IQ issues as well too when he fought Luque, but at the same time, the same token, don't think he's a guy that's going to continually show fight IQ issues. I think he made a mistake. And I think he learns from the mistake, and he has been a well-rounded guy that has been able to mix in, enough striking to get his takedowns. I mean, he lands about 3.39 in his last 5, so he's going to be out there shooting takedowns nonstop. And what's the line currently sitting at for the dog value?
Plus 130.
Now I'll turn this over to Billy. Billy, could you see this one potentially going the distance and maybe looking at another spread play? I know I'm all over spread plays, but I mean, as a sort of a tailor back for some people if they're not fully on Chiesa.
It's just a little like I'm with Nick. My initial lean was like, damn, this is a good Chiesa spot. Like I always fade Kevin Holland with the wrestlers and stuff like that. But to be honest with you, something about Michael Chiesa's chin, I don't trust him. I want to bet the plus 3.5. So when you think about this fight and you think how this fight plays out, and if Michael Chiesa won, it would be by unanimous decision, by him wrestling, throwing enough strikes to cover the judges' scorecards. But then we look at the plus 3.5 on the spread. It's only minus 120. They're basically trying to bait you into taking that. That tells me that Kevin Holland is probably going to knock him out, man. I really do, man. I don't know, man. It's just this gut feeling I have. Man. I was joking around with No, this is your spot. You continue.
No, I was gonna say Chiesa's only lost by KO was a cut to Joe Lozo.
I understand, but man, I don't know, man. Something about my gut feeling about Kevin Holland. But you also know I'm for the culture. I mean, we talked about it in DMs. I said Kevin Holland the last fight with the cornrows on the one side with the afro on the other, walking out the NBA young boy. I mean, dude, you would never think that would happen inside a UFC octagon on any card with Donald Trump in the arena. So I always have a little special spot in my heart for Kevin Holland. But from a betting perspective, I'm right there with Nick. This is dog or pass situation scenario. But something in my gut, man, tells me that this could just be a weird fight, man. But out of the dogs that are on the main card, I want to see where on the pay-per-view, especially for pay-per-views, you have to see where the public dogs are coming in. And I'll talk about one of my spots, and that's one of my dogs on the main card tonight.
Well, you know what? Without further ado, take it away.
Yeah, this is the spot that is either going to be crucified or I get put in the Raptors for MMA betting history.
Taking a shot.
I'm taking this Tony Ferguson. This is a three-piece. Tony Ferguson, Bobby Green, over 2.5 rounds, minus 155. Fight goes to split decision at plus 250, and Tony Ferguson wins by split or majority decision. Everybody and their moms is going to parlay Bobby Green, a.k.a. Bobby King now, Bobby King. But Ferguson, in the midst of this worst streak of his career, he hasn't had his hand raised in over 4 years. But man, I mean, Bobby Green is a below in the UFC. Isn't on the level of Tony Ferguson's losses. His losses are to Oliveira, Chandler. Green doesn't have the submission skills of Nate Diaz or Charles Oliveira. If Ferguson can go to the distance with Oliveira and Dariush, he should last 15 minutes in there with Bobby Green. Bobby Green, besides Jared Gordon's freaking head clash, he isn't knocking out people and stuff like that. This is death taxes. Bobby Green goes to the judges' scorecards. So we're getting a lot of value here. Over 2.5 is a little bit chalky at -155. Fight goes to split decision plus 250. Tony Ferguson wins by split majority decision plus 500. When's the last time you've seen a fight line as low as plus 250 for the fight to go to decision? Those are usually like plus 350, 400 and up. And that's at plus 250. The bookies are saying, hey, don't be surprised when this is going to be greasy. And this is the spot on the parlays. Everyone's parlaying up that Bobby Green, Ismail Bonfim. That's the 2-leg parlay everybody's going with. That's the fire of people's parlays tickets this week when they have Bobby Green on there, because Tony Ferguson's going to get that hand raise, and it's going to be like, what? What the fuck? Sal D'Amato again? We said it here on the Don't Tap podcast. Tony Ferguson wins by split or majority decision plus 500. Fight goes to split decision plus 250. And one of my favorite spots on the board, fight goes over 2.5 rounds, -155. Bobby Green, death taxes, unanimous decisions.
Yeah, honestly, I agree, man. Because, like, if you look at Tony Ferguson's – I wasn't going to put Tony Ferguson as a spot just because a lot of vulnerability there, but his losses, Justin Gaethje went 5 rounds with him. Charles Oliveira is a hammer under 2.5, went the distance with him. But Neil Dariush pretty much laid on him. That is what it is. Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson arguably won the first round. And even in Nate Diaz, he was relatively competitive in that fight in a card that's probably the biggest disaster in UFC history, with all 3 main event fights getting switched around. So it's not that Tony Ferguson has looked bad. He's just facing a higher level competition than what he's at. And that's why I agree, man. I think you're getting a lot of value on Ferguson. I don't know how you could parlay Bobby Green like this, because there's a couple fighters on this card. You know, you're talking about Michelle Pereira, Kevin Holland. Bobby Green's in that boat too, man. His showboating does nothing for the judges. They don't give a shit. So when he's there, like, tapping his legs, putting his hands up, pretending like putting his hands behind his back, and Ferguson just elbows him in the face, like Ferguson isn't going to play around that, man. Ferguson's super serious, trains out a big bear, man, in the woods with nobody around. He's got no time for the antics that Bobby Green's going to bring. So I don't necessarily say I like Ferguson in the spot, but I definitely see it.
I mean, if you look at anybody like at a high level spot fighting Bobby Green, you look at a potential to a split decision if he's going to stand with him, because the guy fights in such close fights. He has that boxing style, slipping, but he also sells it to the judges. When he gets hit, he shows the judges. He's like, "Oh yeah, look, I got hit. Oh look, I got hit," and he literally he sells it. He shows it to them because he gets frustrated or whatever he's doing. It's a bad habit, and it's something you got to try to work out in sparring. And he needs to try to that's just something that doesn't work. Like you basically just tell the judges, I got touched. So if he's gonna fight a close fight, he doesn't really finish anybody. He finished Ella Quinto, who was selling him a house right before they stepped in the cage together. So I mean, I sort of see it, man. I see it. It's a greasy spot. I think there's value on it. I think that people are looking at Ferguson as getting finished, as potentially why they're really leaning Bobby Green heavy. And Bobby Green could end up, he might mix in a takedown or two, but I mean, I wouldn't want to do that because I think that Ferguson on the ground is a little bit of a problem. And on the feet, Ferguson could end up stealing moments, right? Like he's not going to be as volume heavy as Bobby King or Green or whatever the fuck his name is now, but he is definitely going to potentially land a big elbow, cut him open. He is going to potentially land a big shot. Like these things could happen. It even could be a good live bet spot as well too, depending on how that first round plays out. If Ferguson doesn't close that distance enough, and Green's sort of edging in the scorecards, but I don't know, man. I'm with you on that. I think that Ferguson is definitely a side. I'll be looking at potentially a spread as well too, but I'm with you guys on that. I think it potentially could go over, and I could go to the decision. 2 high-level guys fighting. When there's not a disparity in that level, I just think that you could see.
Also want to note that Ferguson has a 5-inch reach advantage, which could play a major factor in this fight as well.
Interesting. good thing that, I mean, we were looking last week at Feely. He was popping that jab. We had that 5-inch reach advantage and was utilizing it well at points. But it all comes down to how well Tony Ferguson wants to use it. If he can use his distance, and then when he does close the distance, close with some elbows, it could get very interesting, man. Because Bobby Green, when he looks bad, he looks bad. So I definitely like the spot. I think it's a sharp spot. I'm going to come in with my spot, and I think that a lot of people are looking at the line. It's pretty wide right now, but it's going to be a future line that comes out. Unless one of you guys can throw it out there. Billy, you seem to have spreads already. Up here in Canada, we don't have shit. At least I couldn't see anything. And I'm going to be looking to a sub on Miranda Maverick, potentially. Sub decision, but then sub as well, too. I'll start with what the pick is. But if you look at Miranda Maverick, I think some people might come in with some love on Cachoeira on this one because they're fading her because of how she got bullied by our girl, Jazz the Vicious. But I think that Jasmine's just bigger. She's able to, she's actually able to outbox her and do her thing. But I think the threat of the wrestling was why Jasmine was able to land the way she wanted to. And Maverick had no answer. When Maverick can't take you down, Maverick doesn't traditionally win. And you're not taking Jasmine down, right? So with Cachoeira, though, on the other hand, she that lady likes getting taken down quite a bit. If you look at it, Jillian Robertson took her down once, but that's all she needed. Luana Carolina took her down 3 times. Molly McCann took her down 2 times. And Valentina Shevchenko took her down 2 times as well, too. These are all in losses. All of her losses have come when she faces someone that takes a grapple-heavy approach and takes her down. I know I'm not telling you anything that maybe you don't know. The line's really wide for a reason, but I think some love's going to come in potentially on Cachoeira as we go into it. And that'll just maybe potentially help out the sub-prop as well, too, and or an angle on this fight. But I just really like looking at that potential for that sub. I think that, two of the 4 losses that she has in the UFC are by sub on the Cachoeira side. It's there, man. It's there to be had. And I think that because Maverick only has 1 sub at this level, we might get value on it. So what is the line right now currently? If you do have a sub prop on Maverick, I think it's there to be had.
Yeah.
Sub decision
sub
is also
prop on Miranda Maverick is plus 145. They don't have the double chances out yet.
They know.
Decision prop is plus 200. But one worry about Miranda Maverick here for me in this spot is I don't think it's going to come into play, but it is a red flag. She is taking this fight on short notice in Salt Lake City. We talked about the cardio being a problem. I mean, the way Miranda Maverick has looked in the past, I mean, Miranda Maverick's my girl, but when she looks bad, she looks bad. When she fought Jasmine, just oh my God. She looked bad, but that's a wrestler versus a wrestler. So I don't think that would be as big as concern. I'm looking to parlay at Miranda Maverick, but that would be like the second to third line. I'm looking for 2 clear spots, maybe another money line spot that's closer towards like a straight bet, and then Miranda Maverick with maybe a spread or something like that to end out the night. I think the 2-leg, the 3 legs are going to be money in the bank this week. But man, we just got to avoid the parlay shitters. But I don't think Miranda Maverick's going to be a parlay shitter this weekend. Fuck Priscilla Ketchum.
It's funny you say that about the cardio too, because that is something that I did. I was sort of like trying to do a walkthrough. Like, what if she does start to gas a little bit? And I think that just because the takedowns will be so easy, I think she's going to be able to get top position at times and be able to sort of just labor on top and be able to.
I think she can knock her out. I think she can knock her out ground and pound top position. That's just. I don't know, man.
I mean, who knows? That could be a crazy-ass game plan because she doesn't want to deal with late-round cardio. But, Nick, what were you thinking, man?
I think this is a fight that you live bet, man. I don't think there's a good way to take this from a straight bet perspective because at the end of the day, if Miranda Maverick goes in there and shoots a takedown and she doesn't get it, I'm going to fucking hammer Priscilla live because on the feet, I think Priscilla beats the shit out of her. Miranda Maverick is not somebody who likes getting pressured. We've seen that time and time again in every single loss that she has, that the second she's on her back foot, she is lost. And if that fight stays standing, that's exactly where she's going to be. There's a very real world, and the line reflects it, that she's going to come in there, double leg her, throw her on her ass, and, do what she's got to do. But if that doesn't happen, man, this fight gets really greasy real quick. We saw last week, man, with Molly McCann, where that was literally like whatever her name is, Stoliarenko's only win in the UFC was against Jessica Rose Clark, who isn't in the UFC anymore. And time again, man, women's MMA has come back to screw your fucking tickets. So I think
I didn't see that angle coming. I honestly
I knew it was there on the table, but I thought Molly McCann in her fucking camp for fucking 6 months would be a little bit smart enough to train that. But her and Shauna Bonin, yo, you two can't fucking train with each other anymore. Molly Meatball and Shauna Bannon, they look fucking horrible. What fucking training session rooms are they fucking having? Like, both of them. What the fuck?
Maybe there's more than we know.
So to cap out this one, I think honestly, if we look at it, I think Maverick, when she plays a wrestling game and it's against lower competition who's there to be taken down, I just think that's the play. And I think that with Cachoeira being taken down by Molly twice, Shevchenko twice, I'll just reiterate it, Luana Carolina 3 times, and Robertson, I just don't know if the stand-up's going to be enough to make a difference. I think you're going to see a lot. It could be a boring decision all the way to the end, or it could be a late sub.
Maverick KO is 750. That does not make sense. Why is she plus 750 to win by knockout? That's nothing but a ground and pound from her getting 8 takedowns. Like,
I agree with that, man.
That's value, man. You look at the second round knockout, 20-1. For her to win by knockout round 1, 16-1. You could play the knockout round props and still bet the submission prop and have the money line in the parlays and be up money. Like, that's the way you bet MMA. You don't need to bet MMA by taking straight money lines. I'll give you a prime example. Mick Parkin last week. I was a little bit scared off the money line. You know what I did? I put $30 on him inside a distance, put $30 on his decision prop. I thought it'd be more than likely if he wins, probably be by decision, but I want to cover my bases with inside a distance. It's okay to have a losing ticket if the other ticket's a bigger winner. At the end of the day, as long as the money's in your pocket, who cares?
For sure.
It's just for me, it's like how many times like we see like, oh, this girl's definitely gonna win. Like, I feel like the story of the week with MMA is people complaining on Twitter that they bet women's MMA. Like, it's just this constant cycle that we just fucking keep putting our toes in the fire, being like, oh, this girl's definitely gonna win here, and then it's like,
I'm gonna be real honest with you. Go back and look at tape on every women's MMA fight that I've picked since Billy's jumped on board and work out my record. I'm digging into these fucking lines and looking at this tape, especially on the women's MMA. I see these lines. Vieira, I didn't get the sub. That's where I overextended myself and lost. Still hit the money line at shitty -190. I get it, how it went down to the -150. On this one, I'm gonna sort of jump into the sub, but at the same time, and or maybe just inside the distance to sort of take what Billy's saying into account as well too. But if we're looking at the parlay that I put out there, we have Kopilov, Maverick, and Thompson, plus 187. The value may have dripped off a little bit. Check what the value is, but it's going to be around there, plus 187. That was a parlay that I had put out, and that'll be something that I'll continue to put out throughout the week, as long as it has value anyways. And then for you guys, let's take a look. Is there one more line out there, or have we all hit our spots?
I'm pretty good, man. It's a lot of changes in fights and stuff like that. I think we all covered a lot of good spots on this one.
I got one more spot on the card.
Ever.
This is a late added fight. Did some tape studying for this, and this is my favorite prop of the whole entire card this weekend. Under 2.5, Darius Flowers, Jake Matthews. Holy shit, man! Looking into these two boys, Darius Flowers when he loses, he gets finished. All of his losses. 5 losses are all inside the distance. You can watch them on YouTube, and they're not good. So he went out there in his Contender Series fight, got lucky with a shoulder injury in the first round. Jake Matthews, on the other hand, I mean, how many times is Jake Matthews going to make the walk inside the octagon, and they're trying to build up a UFC prospect? How many fights do you fight? 14 fights in the UFC and you're still considered a prospect? Because that's the situation here for Jake Matthews. I mean, Jake Matthews, you got to smell the roses here. If they're giving you a short notice, late replacement, debutante, the only person on the whole entire card that's making their debutante is Darius Flowers this weekend. Mr. Matthews, if you don't knock this man out or submit him, you should be cut from the UFC. And if Darius Flowers wins, he is going to knock out Jake Matthews. Chinny chin chin. It's beyond chalky, but favorite spot of the card, man, for props this week. I think there's a lot of different ways you can make money on the inside of distance props on this fight. This says no distance written all over it.
I honestly think Darius Flowers is kind of live in the spot. I did a little bit of tape study in this fight prior to coming on, and I just think with Jake Matthews is he's going to leave himself open for opportunities. Darius Flowers knows that it's going to be probably one round or bust for him, and Jake Matthews just worries me, man. Like, his fight IQ isn't that good. I think we all put so much stock into him after that ass beating he laid on Andre Fiallo, and it turns out Fiallo really wasn't what anybody expected him to be. And I don't rate Jake Matthews that high, man. I feel like this line's going to get steamed. And if there's a Darius Flowers round 1 KO or round 1 finish for that matter, I might take it. Like, I agree with Billy. I think there's no way this fight goes the distance. And I think Darius Flowers is live in the first. And I think that Jake Matthews is live in the second and the third. Just because I think Jake Matthews is probably a little calculated. Like, he knows that Darius Flowers is going to go for broke. It's in every single one of his fights. Like, the guy pretty much runs at you from the get-go. So, yeah, man, violence is definitely the way. Man, you're looking for a parlay piece. That's probably the one.
Yeah, if you look at that, I can't argue with it. I can't argue with it at all. I think Matthews is disappointed at times, but also, shown at times as well, too. And there could be a levels thing here. And if Flowers does come in with that, if you listen to both you guys, or you're breaking that down, if Flowers does come in with that sort of all or nothing approach, it plays right into both your hands as well, too, either way. So I like the play, smart, sharp play. We'll finish off with just sort of a pick. It may be, if you want to sort of touch on what it is for the main event. So we got Dustin Poirier against Justin Gaethje. I'm just going to go with boxing and history, and I'm going to go with the man, Dustin Poirier. I know, what's the line currently sitting at right now?
In minus 160 on FanDuel, minus 150 in some spots, minus 155. And I was shocked at the totals for this fight. I'll talk about that later, but man, the totals for this fight make no sense.
Well, what's the totals? What is it?
For a 5-round fight for the BMF belt, the over/under here is set at 2.5 at minus 135 towards the over. Man, I see this going to the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Man, I would be shocked if we see an early finish. I get it. These two boys are going to swing for the fences. I mean, it's the Justin Gaethje fight. It's always hard betting overs on Justin Gaethje fights, but I'm telling you, man, you would have betted the overs on Justin Gaethje in his last couple of fights. Man, Justin Gaethje by decision against I forget who off the top of my head, but Fiziev. Dude, you must have got so much plus money out of that. I mean, Justin Gaethje is adorable son of a gun. Dustin Poirier is adorable son of a gun. This is for the baddest motherfucker belt for a reason. This shit's going to hit the judges' scorecards and let the best man win, or it's going to go late into the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. That's why I'm so confident in the Alex Pereira co-main event under and him knocking him out, because this one's going over. We're going to see a barn burner here, man. I can't wait for it.
I side with Gaethje, if I'm going to be completely honest. I think with Dustin Poirier, I don't want to say he's on the decline in his career because nothing's necessarily suggested that, but I think this is the fight where we kind of see him take a progression or take a step back. I think Justin Gaethje showed so much improvement in that physique fight. His fight IQ was on point. The way he was calculated with his strikes, everything. Didn't engage in a firefight. The first round didn't look that good for him, but like the way he came out in the second and the third and just completely made a difference in that fight. And I think, he's starting to listen to his coaches better and really implement his game plan. And I think we're going to see a much different fight than we saw in the first one. And I think Justin Gaethje gets his hand raised this weekend.
And what that does is lean into what Billy's saying, because I think that Poirier has the better boxing. If anybody's going to get, finish someone early, it's going to be Poirier finishing Gaethje early. And if you think that Gaethje sort of leveled up a little bit, or at least may take a little bit more of an IQ style approach to this fight, it's gonna go to over. It's gonna be a boxing match that's gonna lean to over, and both guys might end up being bloody and nasty, and with a late finish. But both of you guys potentially cash, and I like the over on it. I think it's a sharp play as well too. I think that with both of what you guys are saying, there's an agreeable scenario there, and once again we find a line. But at the same time, I'm not hating the Gaethje approach, but I think Poirier's gonna box the shit out of him.
It's a high versatile fight, man. Very high versatile.
But volatile, come on, man! I gotta call you. I gotta call you out on that one. I gotta do it to you. I got nothing but love for you, though. All right. Any other spots you guys could think of? Anything else that you're looking at on the card
I think Gabriel Bonfim's probably more than likely going to finish Trevin Giles inside the distance. Officer Giles, man, it's time to wrap it up. You better call your former employer and go get that cop job back, because you fighting in the UFC is no longer after this weekend. And I think that Derek Lewis fight could be a little bit greasier than what people are pretending it to be. Everyone thinks Marcus Reggio de Lima is a lock of the week or something like that. Hey, we've seen how Derek Lewis fights. He likes those 3-round fights. He knows he ain't got cardio for 3.
I like Derek Lewis second, third round.
People are betting chalk against Derek Lewis time and time again. We've seen that fail. And the last spot, early prelim spot, Benicio Salvador, doing a little bit more research into this one. I think he's a live dog against CJ Vergara. CJ Vergara got very lucky in his last fight. And Benicio Salvador, we've seen him on the Contender Series. Whoo, child. He might have lost to Victor Altamirano by a split decision, but man, that Contender Series fight against Shannon Ross showed me something, that he's a dog. He has that dog in him. He wants to win fights. And that little taste in his mouth against Victor Altamirano, a fight that I thought he won in San Antonio, I think he's going to come out here for vengeance. Pay-per-view card. I think he beats CJ Vergara.
That was this close to being a spread play with Salvador. Depending on
I think that
where the line
fight
is
definitely
already.
goes the distance. So the spread play is definitely in play. I think
So that may be a don't tap play. When I look back on it, there's a couple spots where we're in agreement on. So I may put out my plays and then officially the 3 of our plays as a side as well too.
Yeah, side note, you could do like the showboating parlay. You got Benicio Salvador. We saw that in his last fight. You got Kevin Holland and you got Bobby Green. You know, be the showboaters parlay.
I'm looking at a little not full team Brazil, but I'm looking at a little Brazil parlay this weekend of
Yo, we're rolling right now. We're not trying to come up with some gimmicky ass fucking shit. We don't need to do some gimmicky ass.
Hey man, if you would have rolled with the Scottish parlay last week of Chris Duncan,
I know you're right.
Craig,
you are right. And the Canadian parlay, right? The Canadian. Whenever I'm on a biased side, you gotta. That is one thing you guys got to pay attention to. I don't always back, like Paul Craig, I've not backed many, many times. But if I'm going to back him because I'm biased for him, like I'm obviously putting my neck out there, right? Like, so I'm seeing something. Anyways, I'm not going to keep digging into that.
So you're better than me, man.
I'm not a capper. I'm a wannabe
one. Like, that was my thing with that fight. I'm like, both these guys fucking suck. So instead of me being logical and talking to my boy who actually had an angle, I bet my knees at like plus 750 by KO because I was like, fucking Paul Craig always gets KO.
Oh man, my knees.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just, yeah, no.
Bro, you get those beers flowing, man. Those plus 800 things that make no sense sometimes feel a little bit better.
I'm glad we don't shoot the podcast after a Saturday night or a Friday night. That would be. Actually, maybe you come in with some crazy ass spots that would hit. Who knows? But in looking at it, what I want you guys to do just quickly, just reiterate in like a quick clip your 3 spots, and then I'll do it. We'll go one after another. That way we can get it up quick. So take it away, Nick. You start.
Matthew Semmelsberger minus 120. Michael Chiesa is my second spot at plus 130. And my third spot I didn't do, but it was because it was as similar as yours, is Stephen Thompson, who is currently sitting at minus 195.
For Thompson?
Yeah. Well, that's what it says on Tapology.
Well, yeah, no. He's because you can actually get him now at like I even saw minus 160 on unless that's changed.
Minus 149 is the best line.
Minus 149? Oh, okay. I like it. I hope the money keeps coming in that way then. All right. And then for my picks, I was on Thompson. I know the line's moving drastically. Opened at like minus 220, 225 at its biggest in some books. It's moving down, as you're saying, to the minus 145. I also like Pereira in that play as a spread plus 3.5 because I do think he can mix in the takedowns. I do think he can make it a little bit greasy, but I just think that's sort of a Thompson fight. Thompson sort of he outpoints guys later in fights, and I think maybe a takedown or two may lose him around, and I'm cool with that as a little bit of a hedge. So it's sort of an isolated fight play for me. The next spot on the card would be sort of piggybacking off of what Billy was saying. I'm looking at Alex Pereira. I like the spread play. I like the plus 3.5. I think that Pereira could definitely, if it went to the decision, with some damage in a round, win a round, and or if he gets a chance to clip with that weight with no weight cut, man, that's interesting to see if he can knock out Jan. So either or, I think the best value on that is the spread. Unless you're really heavy on the Pereira side, then obviously chase down the props and find value in the KO props or rounds or whatever it is. But for me, I do like that plus 3.5 Pereira. I just think it covers two angles quite nicely. Billy, take it away.
Yeah, first spot of the card, man. I mean, I've been watching Alex Pereira knock out fucking heavyweights in the training room sessions for this kid. So scorecards, no actions for Alex Pereira, minus 120. Second spot, Tony Ferguson wins by split or majority decision, plus 500. And favorite prop of the week, though, Darius Flowers, Jake Matthews under 2.5 rounds. Go give me some money, man. UFC Salt Lake City, baddest motherfucker, Alex Pereira. They put the two Pereiras back-to-back for a reason, baby.
And then the other spot that I did not mention was the Miranda Maverick, and I was going to try to dig out like sort of a sub prop. The sub prop right now plus 145. I don't know if there's value for me there. Maybe sub decision, but also Billy's looking at that KO, so it's got me sort of thinking. So the Maverick is definitely a way I'm looking at it. It's something I dug into quite a bit. I'm going to have to find my angle on that, and I will push that out there as fast as possible. But I did have the Kopilov, I did have the Thompson and Maverick early parlay, the early lean parlay that I put out on Sunday at plus 187. But yeah, that's pretty much all of my spots. And then I know we had a couple extra leans and stuff that I'll put out that we already have clips. So there's a couple spots that we sort of agree upon, even maybe the Salvador spread and a couple of those things that we'll look at.
Yeah, a lot of good money to be made this weekend, man. Make sure you guys bet responsibly. As always, we got a lot more cards to end out the summer, and this is definitely going to be one of the better ones. So do your actions correctly, because it's baddest motherfucker season. I can't wait, man. That's going to be a banger.
Nick?
Yeah, man, this card's going to be absolute fire. Even that, man, I think it's one of those cards where you can pick your spots and just ride. They've lots of good fights, a lot that we didn't even talk about. You only got 12 fights compared to last week with 15. And all 12 fights on this card, man, they're all really good. So pick your spots wisely. There's obviously some dogs that are going to be able to come through, high versatile shit. And, you know, as Billy said, man, gamble responsibly and probably make it out on top this week.
Now you're just trolling me, Chael Sonnen. Now you're just trolling me with mispronunciations. You're trolling the shit out of me. I know you are. For Nick Eagle, for Billy Briz of Pub Sports Radio, I'm Callum McGregor. Tune into the Don't Tap podcast.